The timing of Formula One's summer break was good or bad depending on how much you were enjoying the Mercedes-Red Bull soap opera during the 2021 title fight. Their rift is greater than ever, and it's given a breathless season an increasingly tense dynamic. There's a complex backstory to this rivalry, but one particular theme keeps bobbing up: engine speculation. And with the issue far from settled and F1 due to return from its summer break at the power-sensitive Spa circuit, it will likely continue when the season resumes. So why is there fresh speculation in the title fight? Is it rooted in any truth, or is it just part of the paranoia that engulfs rivals in rare scenarios such as this? The straight-line speeds of Mercedes and Red Bull prior to the summer break triggered fresh speculation about why the advantage in this battleground keeps changing. As the 2021 season progressed, Red Bull seemed to establish a straight-line speed advantage over Mercedes, but this has been reversed in the two most recent Grand Prix in Britain and Hungary. Red Bull's engine partner Honda made great strides with an all-new, rapidly developed internal combustion engine for 2021, while Mercedes had its own innovations inside its V6, but admitted it started the season with weaknesses to solve in its energy recovery systems. A shift in the engine pecking order isn't the full story though. The whole issue is complicated by the differing optimum downforce settings for two very different car concepts at different tracks. But suspicion arose from Honda's rivals in two stages. The first was how Red Bull was faster on the straights than the Mercedes at both Paul Ricard and the two Austria races, and how this coincided with the introduction of fresh Honda power units. The second apparently anomalous development was how this advantage disappeared at Silverstone and Budapest. GPS traces provided by the FIA to the teams allow those teams to make quite highly informed estimates of power outputs of their rivals. But as ever, they are estimates precisely because the speeds are also influenced by drag levels. The higher the downforce, the greater the associated drag. After the French Grand Prix, suggestions were made of a Honda power step with its second power unit. Red Bull and Honda were adamant the straight-line speed gains from that race were purely a result of rear wing levels. Red Bull used a smaller rear wing in France and Austria, and both parties were angered at the suggestion Honda had increased performance with its second engine, something that's not allowed in season anymore. We've already made an entire video about this, which is worth checking out for the full context. Honda did change the specification of its engine, but this was a reliability change approved by the FIA and permitted without any pushback from its rivals. Proof of this specification change can be found in Max Verstappen using a new power unit in Hungary when a crack was found in his previous one after qualifying. Ideally, Honda wouldn't have switched to an all-new power unit for a non-power sensitive track, but it couldn't go back to the engine Verstappen started the season with because it was a different specification, and that would have triggered a grid penalty given it was being changed in Parc Fermé. Though this has been interpreted by some, including apparently some senior personnel at Mercedes, as proof of the change that gave Honda's engine more power from the French Grand Prix, it doesn't really do that. All it really does is prove the specification was changed. It proves nothing about what that change achieved. Honda has insisted resolutely that the specification change in France did not alter the engine's power output. It also said it had not changed the way it operated the power unit either, scoffing at a rumour Honda was running the engine at a lower power mode before the reliability fix was implemented. But the straight-line speed swing towards Mercedes at the last couple of races, despite no apparent changes on the Mercedes side and a high downforce setup in Hungary, has now prompted suggestions that Honda has been pulled back in some way. That belief was reinforced by the consequences of Red Bull's switch to a smaller rear wing in Hungary. It was a change driven by car characteristics, as Red Bull was struggling to dial out understeer and had to resort to reducing the rear downforce. Taking a smaller rear wing at a high downforce track was odd, Mercedes said, and reducing the drag only drew the two cars level on straight-line speed. It could be inferred from this that something else was interfering with the competitive picture. But Honda has been moved to flat out reject the suggestion that any fresh variable emerged from its side. The manufacturer has told the race that it has received no directive or private instruction from the FIA to alter anything about how it operates its engine. Furthermore, it's reiterated that its engine power hasn't changed since the start of the season. If Honda hasn't run its engine any differently or more conservatively in the last two events, then it has played no part in why Red Bull's straight-line speed edge appears to have faded. According to reports in Germany, Red Bull points the finger at Mercedes and its innovative plenum redesign for 2021. But that development, which theoretically houses a chamber of super cold air that can be used in the combustion process for quick bursts of extra power, has been openly speculated over since the start of the year. So Mercedes is clearly not concerned that it can be accused of operating in any kind of regulatory grey area. Meanwhile, any suggestion of Honda doing that has quickly drawn Red Bull's ire. It hints at both sides not quite understanding something about the other's engine package, which combined with the complex nature of how each aero platform reacts on track makes for an inconsistent pattern. The Honda and Mercedes power units are closely matched, but they have different strengths and weaknesses. And the Red Bull and Mercedes cars have different aero platforms that have different downforce and drag characteristics. So it does not seem extraordinary to think that the straight-line speed advantage could shift track to track depending on the exact nature of the circuit and the car setup. That, with a dash of second guessing and the risk of paranoia that comes in a title fight like this one, can easily lead to wrong conclusions about what the other is doing. This is all wrapped up in the Red Bull-Mercedes rivalry that escalated with the ill-tempered and controversial British and Hungarian Grand Prix. The division between the two teams is becoming the defining element of this title battle rather than the Lewis Hamilton versus Max Verstappen narrative that started this season. Hard but fair wheel-to-wheel racing has given way to politicking, behind-the-scenes lobbying, name-calling and finger-pointing. Red Bull feels Mercedes is the chief architect of this, given the scrutiny that Red Bull's flexing rear wing was put under, the questions raised about Honda's engine performance, and the technical directive that briefly looked like it would eliminate a key Red Bull advantage in the pit stops. While the intensity is something to savour for the most part, there is a risk it could go too far. It has already nudged that line, if not crossed it entirely this season. Regardless of what Red Bull says, there was an implication from its failed right of review at the Hungarian Grand Prix that the team believes Hamilton took Verstappen out on purpose at Silverstone. Mercedes could have de-escalated the situation immediately in Hungary but didn't, accusing Red Bull of a concerted effort to tarnish Hamilton's reputation. During this back and forth, it's largely irrelevant who started the war of words and who you consider to be in the right. After a point, it just becomes repetitive and someone needs to take the high ground. The events of the Hungarian Grand Prix stopped that from happening, given Valtteri Bottas skittled 3 cars, including both Red Bulls, at turn 1. There was no accusation of intent, but Red Bull wasn't prepared to just shrug it off. Counterparts Christian Horner and Toto Wolff had a frosty exchange when Wolff appeared to offer an apology, and the implication was that it wasn't accepted. Regardless of whether that was quite the case, the discomfort in this rivalry became palpable. So is it boiling down to a sheer dislike, with Red Bull and Mercedes simply sharing a mutual disdain for the other? At times it has started to feel that way, and that would also help explain why each side seems to be assuming the worst from the other on the engine front. The last thing this season needs is to end with a sour taste. It would be a bitter and unsatisfactory conclusion to such an epic to and fro, especially one involving 2 remarkable drivers, if come the final round the losing side cannot accept defeat. If you're not into F1 for the politics, the petty squabbling and the he said she said, or you think the title fight is better off with a measure of calm restored, then you're probably hoping things will calm down in the second half of the season. But thanks to the engine question marks, that's unlikely to happen immediately after the summer break, given 2 of the 3 circuits we're going to are 2 of the most power sensitive tracks on the calendar. Let us know in the comments if you're loving all the drama and hoping it continues to be as fiery as it has been of late, or if you're just hoping this war of words ends so you can get back to enjoying what's happening on track. If you enjoyed our video, you can leave us with a thumbs up to show your approval, and if you're new here, how about hitting the subscribe button and joining us in the future for more videos.